I used to think living with a roommate made life easier. Rent was cheaper, chores were shared, and the apartment never felt lonely. That was what I believed when I moved in with Talia. She seemed friendly at first, warm smile, soft voice, tidy hair tied in a sleek knot. But there was something in her eyes I didn't understand back then. Something sharp. Something watchful. The first missing package didn't make me suspicious. Mistakes happened. The delivery app said it was left at the door, but when I came home, nothing was there. I figured the driver dropped it at the wrong building. I shrugged and requested a replacement. The second missing package annoyed me. But it still wasn't enough to assume the worst. Our building was big, things got mixed up all the time. But when the third package vanished, an important skincare order I had been waiting for, I felt something tighten in my stomach. That night, I asked Talia if she had seen anything. She blinked twice too fast. No idea. Maybe the driver keeps messing up? It was the way she said it, too casual, too quick, that made something spark in the back of my mind. But I still didn't know what I was dealing with. Not yet. A week later, another package went missing. This time, it wasn't something small. It was a blazer I needed for work. I had saved for weeks to buy it. When the delivery app showed delivered, front door, I rushed home excited. But the mat was empty again. My hands shook as I checked the hallway. Nothing. I knocked on 2 neighbors' doors. No one had seen a thing. When I walked back inside, Talia was on the couch scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up. Another one gone, I muttered. She answered with a bored tone, seriously? Maybe you should use your work address instead. Something about that comment felt practiced. Like she had been waiting for me to say something. I watched her face closely. She didn't seem concerned. Not even curious. Later that night, while doing laundry, I noticed a box in the trash. Flattened. Torn. But the shipping label caught my eye. My name. My address. My handwriting from when I requested the return. I froze. My heartbeat hammered in my ears. Why was my package box in the trash when I had never received the package? I pulled it out with gloves, holding it like evidence. A cold, heavy suspicion settled in my chest. Someone was taking my things. And there were only 2 people who had access to the front door. Me. And Talia. I didn't confront her right away. I needed proof, real proof, not just a hunch and a flattened box in the trash. I didn't want to accuse someone without evidence, especially someone I lived with. Still, the tension in the apartment grew heavier each day. That week, I ordered something small on purpose, a pack of nail polish I didn't mind losing, just to see what would happen. I tracked it all day. When the notification hit my phone around 3 p.m., I rushed home early. Nothing on the mat. No box. My stomach twisted. I peeked into the trash. Nothing new there. I checked the mailroom. No sign of it. When I walked back into the apartment, Talia stepped out of her room holding a mug of tea. She jumped a little when she saw me. "You're home early," she said. "Package was delivered," I replied. "Oh." She sipped her tea. "Maybe someone stole it." The word someone lingered in the air like smoke. That night, I lay awake thinking. 5 packages. All delivered. All missing. All while living with a roommate who never seemed bothered by my frustration. I couldn't keep guessing. I needed the truth. So I made a plan. A real one. Because if she was taking my things, I needed to catch her in the act. The next morning, before Talia woke up, I ordered something new, a small jewelry box worth just enough to matter, but not enough to feel like a loss if it disappeared. I paid for same-day delivery. Then I went to the store. I bought one item I never imagined I'd need inside my own home, a tiny indoor security camera disguised as a phone charger. It recorded silently, uploaded to the cloud, and could be checked from my phone anywhere. I plugged it into the outlet across from the door. It looked harmless, like an ordinary charger. No one would suspect it. When Talia walked out of her room, she didn't notice a thing. That afternoon, I watched the app obsessively. At 2:41 p.m., the notification buzzed, delivered, front door. Showtime. I didn't rush home. Instead, I waited across the street in my car with the app open. My camera showed the inside of the apartment, empty and still. Then, at 2:47 p.m., the door opened. Talia walked in. My breath caught. She looked down. Saw the package. And without hesitation, without even checking the name, she picked it up, tucked it under her arm, and walked straight to her room. Not even a pause. Not even guilt. My phone recorded everything. Proof. Finally, proof. I drove home shaking, not from fear, but from anger so sharp it made my hands tremble on the steering wheel. How long had she been stealing from me? How much had she taken? I walked through the door trying to breathe normally, but the apartment felt different now. Smaller. Tighter. Charged. Talia popped her head out of her room. Oh, hey. You're back early again. Yeah, I said quietly. Package came today. Her eyes flicked toward her room for half a second. I didn't see anything. I nodded slowly. Right. She disappeared into her room without another word. The camera footage burned in my mind. Her calm expression. The casual way she took something that didn't belong to her. The way she hid it without blinking. I wanted to confront her right then. But something told me not to, not yet. The story wasn't simple. Not with how confident she looked. Not with how bold she had become. I needed to understand why she was doing this. Was it money? Jealousy? Spite? Or something much worse? That night, as she moved around the apartment, acting completely normal, I sat silently on my bed watching the recorded clip over and over. The theft was bad enough. But the look on her face? Cold. Calculated. Satisfied. This wasn't just stealing. This was something deeper. Something darker. The next morning, I woke up early and replayed the footage again. Every angle, every second, every little detail. The way she closed the door quickly. The way she held the package against her chest like it belonged to her. The tiny smile she had as she walked down the hall. A smile. Not guilt. Not worry. A smile. That was the moment something shifted inside me. This wasn't about a mistake or confusion. She enjoyed taking from me. I spent the whole day thinking about what to do. Reporting her to the landlord? Kicking her out? Confronting her with the footage? But part of me wanted to understand the full truth first. If she was bold enough to steal in daylight, what else was she doing when I wasn't around? At noon, I checked the camera again. Talia walked into the living room, glanced around, then opened one of the hall closets. She pulled out a shoebox and took it to her room. I didn't even know she kept things in that closet. When she left for work around 3 p.m., I finally got the chance to look. Inside the closet, behind towels and cleaning supplies, there were 5 flattened shipping boxes. All with my name. All hidden carefully. That's when I realized. She hadn't stolen packages. She'd been collecting them. On purpose. Finding the hidden boxes changed everything. My heart pounded as I put each one back exactly where it had been. I didn't want her to know I knew, not yet. Not until I understood the full scope of what she was doing. That night, I ordered another small item. I wanted to see if she'd steal again. I felt guilty using my own money as bait, but it was the only way to expose her completely. At 8 p.m., she came home humming softly, swinging her purse, acting like nothing in the world bothered her. I watched from the couch as she placed leftovers in the fridge and scrolled through her phone at the island. She looked ordinary. Normal. Almost sweet. But looks could lie. I tried to read her expression. Did she know I suspected her? Did she care? Did she think I was too trusting or too naive to catch on? When I went to bed, I could hear her footsteps in the hallway. Slow. Steady. Almost like she was checking to see if I was awake. The next morning, the new package was marked out for delivery. She kept glancing at her phone. I knew what she was waiting for. But so was I. The truth wasn't finished revealing itself. And neither was she. The delivery window said between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. I pretended to be busy with work at the kitchen table, sipping tea and answering emails. Every few minutes, I saw Talia crack her door open, check the hallway, then close it again. She was waiting like a cat waiting for a bird. Around 1:14 p.m., the delivery notification chimed on my phone. Delivered. I didn't move. I wanted to see what she would do when she thought I wasn't paying attention. 30 seconds passed. 1 minute. 2. Then her door opened softly. She stepped out barefoot, moving slowly, listening. Her eyes flicked to me at the table, then to the front door. She pressed her lips together, like she was calculating something. Then she turned around and walked back to her room. 8 seconds later, I saw it, her reflection in the microwave door. She peeked out again. I acted like I was reading, not watching her. She crossed the living room quietly, opened the door, and reached down out of view. My heart thudded. She straightened with the package in her hand. But instead of hiding it, she opened it right there in the living room. She didn't even try to pretend she found it damaged or bring it to me. She stole it openly. Confidently. Boldly. And the camera saw everything. The shock hit me harder than I expected. She didn't just take the package, she opened it like it was hers. She tore the tape quickly, pulled out the item, inspected it, then tossed the empty box into the trash with no hesitation. She didn't fear getting caught. She didn't think she could get caught. The worst part? She looked satisfied. Like she enjoyed ruining things for me. I stayed silent, didn't react, didn't flinch. I needed to stay ahead of her, not scare her into hiding her behavior. But I spent the rest of the afternoon studying her. The way she smiled at her phone, the way she hummed while cooking, the way she pretended nothing was wrong. I kept asking myself, why? Why steal my things? Why act so bold? Why enjoy it? That night, when she went to bed, curiosity overwhelmed me. I needed to know what she was doing with all my stuff. I checked the camera feed first, her lights were off. So I stepped quietly into the living room and opened the same closet as before. Behind a stack of blankets, I found something new. A large tote bag. Filled with items I never received. My makeup. My clothes. My books. My skincare. All organized neatly. Each one taken from a different package. She wasn't stealing by accident. She was building a collection. Of my things. Seeing my belongings piled in her tote felt like someone had reached into my life and twisted it. These were things I bought for myself, things I looked forward to, things I needed. And she hid them like trophies. But there was something stranger. A small notebook lay at the bottom of the bag. I hesitated before touching it. My fingers shook as I flipped it open. Page after page of lists. Dates. tracking numbers, descriptions of items. She had written everything down, even things I didn't realize were missing. Notes like, arrived early, worth keeping. She didn't notice this one. Better than expected. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't petty theft. This was obsession. I placed everything back exactly as it was and quietly returned to my room. I locked my door, not because I thought she'd enter, but because something deep inside me sensed she wasn't just stealing possessions. She was invading boundaries, pushing limits, testing how far she could go. The camera gave me the truth about the packages. But my gut told me the packages weren't the end of it. Something was wrong with her. And the worst part? I had no idea what she planned to take next. The next morning, I couldn't look at Talia the same way. Every move she made felt calculated now. Every smile felt fake. She walked around the kitchen humming, acting like an innocent roommate making breakfast, but all I saw was the notebook, her neat handwriting tracking every item she had taken from me. She sat at the table, eating cereal. "You seem quiet today," she said lightly. "I'm just tired," I replied, watching her closely. She smiled. "Maybe you should relax more. Stress looks bad on you." The comment felt like a jab, but I forced a small smile. "I'll try." While she rinsed her bowl, I checked my phone under the table. The camera had caught her again, slipping out of her room in the middle of the night to check the tote bag. She touched each item slowly, like she was admiring them. Why did she need my things? Why did she enjoy this? When she left for work, I sat on my bed and made a decision. I needed a second camera. One wasn't enough. She was too unpredictable. I ordered it immediately, same disguise style, same cloud recording. This time, I planned to place it facing the hallway. If she was sneaking out at night, I wanted to know how often. Because the way she handled my things didn't feel like simple theft anymore. It felt like obsession. The second camera arrived late that afternoon. I waited until Talia went for a shower before installing it. My hands moved fast, my heartbeat thudding in my ears. This one looked like a wall plug, small, black, and forgettable. I placed it in the hallway outlet between our rooms. The perfect spot. By the time she stepped out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, steam following her like a cloud, the camera was already recording. She didn't notice a thing. That night, I lay in bed pretending to sleep. Around 2:13 a.m., I heard her door creak open. I stayed still, barely breathing. Soft steps. Slow. Careful. My phone buzzed gently under my pillow. Motion detected. I opened the live feed with the brightness low. There she was. Talia. Standing in the hallway, just staring at my door. Not moving. Not blinking. Just watching. My heart hammered painfully. Why was she just standing there? What was she thinking? She lifted her hand slowly, almost reaching for my doorknob, but stopped. Her fingers hovered there for a long moment, shaking slightly, then dropped to her side. She stepped back, breathing hard, then walked toward the living room. I exhaled shakily. She wasn't just stealing my things. She was creeping outside my door at night. Watching me. Waiting. For what? The next morning, Talia acted like nothing happened. She moved around the kitchen with her usual quiet grace, hair tied tight, expression calm. But every time she walked past the hallway, I felt a shiver crawl down my spine. Because I knew the truth. She had stood outside my door for almost 2 minutes. She had reached for my doorknob. I stirred my coffee slowly, eyes fixed on her. "Did you sleep well?" I asked casually. She shrugged. "Fine." "Why?" "Just wondering," I said. Her eyes flicked up. Sharp. Too sharp. Why would you wonder that? I froze for half a second. No reason. You just look tired. She stared at me for a moment too long, then smiled. We all get tired. But something in the way she said it made me uneasy. When she left for work, I pulled up the footage again. I watched her hand hover near my doorknob, close enough to touch it. Close enough to twist it open, if she had wanted. What would she have done if it wasn't locked? A cold fear settled in my chest. I didn't know this woman. I didn't know what she was capable of. And when I checked her room's camera feed later, I saw something new. She wasn't looking at my packages anymore. She was staring at my bedroom door camera angle, her eyes calculating. As if she sensed something had changed. That evening, I tried to keep things normal. We ate dinner at the same time, made small talk about our days, pretended everything was fine. But the air felt heavy, tight, and stretched like it could snap at any moment. At one point, Talia leaned back in her chair and said, "You've been ordering a lot of things lately." My stomach tightened. I needed some new stuff. She smiled faintly. You never seem to get them, though. I forced a laugh. Yeah. Odd, right? Very odd, she echoed. Something in her eyes glinted, like she was waiting for me to slip, waiting for a reaction. I didn't give her one. When she went to bed early, I checked the hallway camera again. She had walked past my door 3 times that evening. Each time, she paused. Just for a second. Like she wanted to knock, or open it. At 11:50 p.m., I watched her step out again, this time holding something small in her hand. She walked to the closet, the same closet with the hidden boxes. She pulled out the tote. But instead of checking the items, she added something new. An envelope. I zoomed in. My name was written on it. In her handwriting. I stared at the screen, my pulse racing. What was she writing to me? And why hide it in the tote instead of giving it to me? I waited until she left for work the next morning before checking the closet again. My hands shook as I moved the blankets aside and lifted the tote. The envelope sat on top now, crisp and white, my name written in looping letters. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed not to open it. But I had to know. I slid a finger under the flap and unfolded the paper inside. 1 sentence. Neat. Careful. Terrifying. I want the things you have because I deserve the life you live. My breath caught. The words weren't about packages. They weren't about things. They were about me. A chill spread down my spine. I placed everything back exactly as I found it, closed the closet slowly, and walked to my room with numb fingers. This wasn't just stealing anymore. This was fixation. Envy. Possession. I sat on my bed, staring at the wall as the realization sank in deeper and deeper. She didn't just want my packages. She wanted pieces of my life. My routines. My things. My place in this apartment. Maybe even my identity. And suddenly, the memory of her standing outside my door at 2 a.m. felt different. More dangerous. More intentional. She wasn't just watching. She was choosing her moment. And I was running out of time. I stared at the envelope for a long time, the words burned into my mind. I deserve the life you live. What did that even mean? What life? I lived simply. I worked, I cooked, I paid bills on time. Nothing about my life seemed desirable enough to steal, yet Talia was clinging to every piece she could take. That afternoon, she texted me. Talia, are you home tonight? My stomach dropped. Why would she ask that? Why now? I typed slowly. Me, yeah. Why? She replied almost instantly. Talia, just wondering. Just wondering. But I didn't believe a word of it. That night, she came home later than usual, her expression unreadable. She watched me quietly as she microwaved leftovers, her eyes following me whenever I moved. I pretended not to notice, but every step made my heart thud harder. Around midnight, I checked the hallway camera. Talia's door was open. She walked out carrying something in her hand, a small key. She knelt beside the hall closet and unlocked a tiny lock I didn't even know existed. Inside was a second hidden compartment. My breath caught. Inside were more items, my perfume, my journal, even a scarf I thought I misplaced months ago. She had been doing this long before I noticed. And she wasn't done. The next morning, sunlight didn't make anything feel safer. If anything, the brightness made the apartment feel unnatural, like a stage set for something wrong. Talia sat at the kitchen counter eating yogurt. "Did you sleep well?" she asked. "Fine," I lied. She smiled. "Good. You looked restless." My heart skipped. She watched me? Had she tried my door again? I needed to check the footage. When she left for work, I replayed the night. At 3:02 a.m., she returned to the closet, opened the secret compartment again, and took out my journal. She flipped through it slowly, like she was reading my thoughts. Then she traced my handwriting with her fingertip. My skin crawled. She placed it back gently, but not before slipping something else inside. I grabbed my journal from the compartment as soon as she left. A thin piece of paper fell out. A note. "You write like someone who doesn't appreciate what she has." My hands shook violently. This wasn't jealousy. This was resentment, twisted and growing. I wanted to run. Move out. Leave everything. But something held me back. She had keys, codes, access. She could take more when I wasn't there. I needed evidence, something big enough for police, not just the landlord. The camera had given me pieces. But I needed her entire plan. At this point, the cameras were my lifeline. I added one more, hidden inside a fake plant in the living room. I hated turning our home into a surveillance zone, but I had no choice. I wasn't living with a roommate anymore. I was living with a threat. That evening, I pretended to leave for the grocery store, grabbing my keys and stepping outside. I circled the building, found a bench across the street, and opened the live feed. 6 minutes later, Talia came out of her room. She didn't go to the kitchen. She didn't grab water. She didn't call anyone. She walked straight to my bedroom door. My heart froze. She tried the handle. Locked. Then she knelt down and pressed her ear to the door. I watched her tilt her head slowly, listening for movement. I held my breath even though I wasn't inside. After a few seconds, she stood up and walked toward the kitchen. She opened the drawer where we kept small tools, taking out a thin metal piece. A lock pick. My pulse spiked. She walked back to my door and slid the tool against the lock, experimenting, pushing, turning. The door didn't open. She stepped back, frustrated, then murmured something I barely heard. "I'll get in eventually." She then returned to her room calmly, as if she hadn't just tried to break into mine. I sat frozen on the bench. She wasn't just stealing anymore. She was escalating. I went back inside only after I was sure she was asleep. Every muscle in my body felt tight. Fear mixed with anger, creating a storm I could barely control. I called my older cousin, one of the few people I trusted. I didn't tell him everything, only that I felt unsafe. He told me to get out immediately, but I needed a plan. I needed proof strong enough that she couldn't talk her way out of it. The next day, I set a trap. I ordered something expensive, noise-canceling headphones I'd saved up for. I placed a note on the app to leave it directly at the door. I even left the hallway light on to make it obvious. At noon, I got the alert, delivered. This time, I stayed home. I sat at the table pretending to work while the hallway camera caught everything. Talia peeked out. Saw the package. Looked at me. Waited. Then she made a phone call quietly. Yeah, she's home. I'll wait. What? Wait for who? 5 minutes later, she slipped out of her room again. This time she whispered, come on, like she was negotiating with herself. She opened the front door a crack, grabbed the package incredibly fast, and sprinted to her room, like a thief who'd trained for the moment. I stood up slowly. She knew I was right there. She knew I saw the package arrive. She didn't care. Because she believed she'd never get caught. I felt the rage rise like fire. I walked straight to her door and knocked hard. Talia, I need to talk to you. Silence. Then footsteps. She opened the door just 2 inches, blocking the rest of the room with her body. Her smile was small, tight, fake. What's up? My package was just delivered, I said calmly. Did you see it? Her eyes didn't even flicker. Nope. It disappeared. Again? Wow, your luck is terrible. Her tone made my blood boil. So you didn't grab it? She shrugged. Why would I? I stared straight into her eyes. Because I think you've been taking my things. Her face didn't change. Not shock. Not guilt. Nothing. Then she leaned closer, her voice low. You're imagining things, Aurelia. Maybe you should get some rest. Gaslighting. Clear. Sharp. Intentional. I forced a smile. Maybe. She closed her door gently. And the second it latched, her expression snapped into something cold and unmasked, caught on the hallway camera. She whispered to herself. She's getting too close. Then she picked up my package and hid it under her bed. That was the last clue I needed. This wasn't petty theft. This was planned. Targeted. And I finally knew what I had to do. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed awake listening to every sound in the apartment, pipes humming, fridge buzzing, the faint creak of Talia pacing in her room. She knew I suspected her now. She knew I was close, and that made her unpredictable. At 2:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected. I opened the hallway feed. Talia's door cracked open. She stepped out slowly, wearing dark clothes, hair down for once. She walked directly to my door and pressed her hand against it. I could hear her breathing through the audio. She whispered, "You don't deserve what you have." My stomach twisted. She jiggled my doorknob. Still locked. Then she crouched down, pulled out the same thin metal tool from her pocket, and tried the lock again. Carefully. Skillfully. Like she had practiced. I held my breath. If she got in, she'd be in my private space. My room. My sanctuary. The lock held firm. She stepped back, frustrated, chest rising and falling quickly. She whispered a curse under her breath and walked to the living room. When she was gone, I exhaled shakily. I couldn't wait anymore. Morning would be too late. I needed someone else to see what I'd collected, someone who could actually help. I opened my messages and typed one word to my cousin. Come. My cousin, Raylan, arrived in less than 15 minutes. When I opened the door, he took one look at my face and said, "Show me." I didn't waste time. I pulled up the camera feeds, first the package thefts, then the closet compartment, then her reading my journal, then her trying my door in the middle of the night. Raylan's jaw tightened. "This isn't roommate drama," he muttered. "This is dangerous." He stood up. "Pack a bag. You're leaving tonight." "No," I said firmly. "If I leave now, she'll just deny everything. I need the landlord to see this. I need the police to see it. All of it." He exhaled sharply, frustrated but understanding. "Okay. But I'm staying until morning." We sat in the living room, lights dimmed. Talia's door stayed closed for hours. Around 4 a.m., Raylan checked his watch. "She's not coming out." But the moment he said it, my phone buzzed again. Motion detected, closet camera. I opened the feed. Talia was in the closet, pulling everything out hurriedly, my scarf, my makeup, my skincare, shoving them into a duffel bag. She was preparing to hide everything. Or run. "Ray," I whispered. "She knows." He put a hand on my shoulder. "Then it's time." We walked quietly to the door. We had to leave before she realized we were awake. But as I opened the front door, Talia stepped out of the hallway shadows. She stood there barefoot, shoulders tense, eyes wide like she'd been caught in a spotlight. In her hand, she clutched the duffel bag filled with my things. "Aurelia," she said softly, voice trembling. "Where are you going?" Raylan stepped slightly in front of me. "Move," he said firmly. Talia didn't move. Instead, she tilted her head, studying him with cold curiosity. "You're not supposed to be here. And you're not supposed to be stealing," he shot back. Her expression twisted, anger flickering into fear, then into something darker. "She made me do it," Talia whispered. "She has everything. Everything I should have had." My throat tightened. "Talia, what does that even mean?" She clutched the duffel closer. "You have friends. You have people who care. I don't have anyone." Her voice cracked. "People leave me. They always leave me." I froze. This wasn't just theft. This was unraveling. She stepped closer, eyes pleading and furious at the same time. "But I can make it fair. I can take some things. Just enough. You don't even miss half of it." Raylan raised his voice. "Put the bag down. Now." She flinched. Her eyes darted between us, and suddenly, she bolted for the door. Raylan moved faster. He grabbed her wrist, stopping her escape. The duffel dropped, spilling my belongings across the entryway. Talia screamed, raw and panicked. And neighbors began opening their doors. The hallway filled quickly, curious, sleepy neighbors stepping out, startled by the noise. Raylan held Talia firmly but gently by the arms, keeping her from running. I stood frozen as she twisted and cried out like she was being attacked, even though he wasn't hurting her. "Let go! She's lying. She's trying to ruin me!" Talia screamed. A neighbor asked, "What's going on?" Raylan answered calmly, "She's been stealing from my cousin for months. We have everything on camera." Talia thrashed harder. "She filmed me? She filmed me? That's illegal. She's crazy." I stepped forward, voice shaking but steady. "Only the common areas. Not your room. Not anything private. Only where she keeps stealing from." Another neighbor gasped when she saw my belongings scattered across the floor. "Those things aren't hers?" "No," I whispered. "Someone offered to call the police." Raylan said, "Thank you." "Please do." Talia froze at the word police. Her chest rose and fell quickly. Her eyes darted from the neighbors to me, then to the duffel. "It's not what you think," she whispered. "I wasn't stealing. I was borrowing." I was trying to understand her, understand why she has everything I don't. My heart ached, not with sympathy, but with the shock of how deeply she had convinced herself of this fantasy. When the officers arrived 7 minutes later, everything happened fast. Statements. Evidence. The duffel. The cameras. And finally, Talia being gently escorted away, still crying, but no longer fighting. The door closed behind them. Silence followed. Heavy. Final. By sunrise, the apartment felt different. Quiet in a way that wasn't frightening anymore. The air didn't feel heavy. The walls didn't feel like they were watching me. For the first time in months, I could breathe deeply without tension tightening my chest. Raylan helped me pack the rest of her things into boxes for the landlord to collect. When he walked out to load them in the hallway, I stood alone in the living room. The closet felt empty now. My bedroom felt safe again. My space was mine. But the truth took longer to settle. People always warned me that bad roommates were annoying, messy, inconsiderate. Nobody warned me that one could become obsessed. Later that afternoon, the landlord called. "We reviewed the footage you sent. She won't be returning to the building. Ever." I thanked him quietly. When I hung up, I walked to the window. Outside, kids played. Dogs barked. Life went on like normal. But a piece of me had changed, grown harder, sharper, wiser. You don't expect betrayal from someone you live with. You don't expect danger from someone who shares your kitchen and your table. Sometimes, the threat isn't outside. It's right down the hall. As I finally sat on the couch, alone, safe, free, I whispered to myself. It's over. And for the first time, it truly was.